This is 3 disturbing true stories, all inspired by real cases. If you enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump into our first one. I've always been a pretty rational person, not the kind to get spooked easily. I don't believe in ghosts or any of that stuff. But what happened to me 3 years ago shook me in a way I can't fully explain, and I hope no one else ever has to go through it. I had just bought my first house, nothing big, a fixer-upper ranch-style home outside of Boise, Idaho. Quiet area, nice neighbours, a little overgrown but nothing I couldn't handle. It was the first time I've lived completely alone, and for the first couple of weeks it was peaceful. No one to wake me up early, no loud music, no roommates leaving dishes in the sink. But then the noises started. At first, I chalked it up to the house settling. You know, old beams creaking, pipes rattling, mice maybe. But these sounds weren't random. They happened mostly at night. Soft tapping, scraping, like something was crawling slowly inside the walls. Once, I even heard what sounded like a muffled cough from the vent in the hallway. I told myself it had to be animals, maybe raccoons in the attic. I bought traps, called pest control. They did an inspection and said they didn't find anything out of the ordinary. No drop-ins, no signs of infestation. Still, the sounds continued. Then little things started going missing. A fork, a roll of toilet paper, one of my socks. One morning, I came into the kitchen and the fridge was slightly open, like someone had looked through it during the night. I began questioning myself. Maybe I was more forgetful than I realised. Maybe I left it open. Maybe I dropped the fork. Maybe I miscounted the toilet paper. That was until I found the note. It was left on my nightstand, a torn scrap of notebook paper, 4 words scribbled in rough handwriting. I'm so sorry. No explanation, no context. I tore the house apart looking for signs of a break-in. Every window was locked, every door was secured. I even checked the attic and the basement. Nothing. I called the police. They sent someone over, but since nothing was stolen and there was no sign of forced entry, they didn't do much beyond taking a report. The officer mentioned it could have been a prank. I started sleeping with a baseball bat next to my bed. About 2 weeks later, I was doing laundry when I noticed something strange. The small door to the crawlspace under the house wasn't fully shut. It's not a full height basement, just a short, dark space under the foundation where pipes and wiring run, mostly dirt floor and cobwebs. I hadn't been down there since I moved in. I opened the door, grabbed a flashlight and crouched down. The moment I poked my head in, the smell hit me. Rot, sweat, old food. My stomach turned. I scanned the beam of light across the space. In the far corner, behind some ductwork, something moved. Someone was down there. I scrambled backwards so fast I slammed my head on the wall behind me. A man, filthy, pale, eyes wide, lunged forward and tried to grab my ankle. I kicked hard and pulled myself out, slamming the crawlspace door shut and grabbing the bat. I locked myself into the bathroom and called 911, breathless. The operator told me to stay where I was. I listened at the bathroom door. Nothing. Then, the sound of footsteps running. The front door creaked. Silence. When the police arrived, the house was empty again. They searched the crawlspace and found what they later described as a nest. Blankets, food wrappers, empty water bottles, a flashlight, a screwdriver, even a journal. It belonged to a man named David E., a local with long history of mental health issues and minor break-ins. He'd been released from hospital 6 months earlier. No known family, no fixed address. He had apparently slipped in during the first week I moved in through an exterior vent he pried open and had been living beneath me for almost a month. The note? He left it because, according to the journal, he felt bad for spying. The entry read, "She dropped her sock. She looked sad. I think she's lonely. I'm just watching out for her. I never meant to scare her." They never caught him. He ran into the woods and disappeared. For weeks afterwards, I felt like he might still be under the house, watching. I installed cameras, security lights, reinforced every window. But to this day, I still wake up at night and check the crawlspace door, and sometimes I still hear scratching. My wife and I bought our dream home in early 2017, a 6-bedroom, 3-story colonial built in the 1920s, tucked into a quiet cul-de-sac in an upscale neighbourhood just outside of Westfield, New Jersey. Wide front lawn, wraparound porch and big trees. It was perfect. Too perfect. We thought we'd gotten lucky. The previous owners had accepted our offer surprisingly fast, and the house came in under our budget. We planned to renovate for a few months before moving in with our 2 children, but we never made it past the 3rd week, because the house had a history, one we were never warned about. The first letter arrived 3 days after closing. No return address, just a plain white envelope in the mailbox addressed simply to the new owners of 658 Oakview Lane. Inside, in neat, slanted handwriting, "Dear new neighbour, I see you've taken possession of 658 Oakview. It's been waiting for you. Welcome. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls? I do. I've watched it for decades, and my father did before me, as his father did before him. I'm the watcher. I have waited a long time to write this." It got worse. "Have you found all the rooms yet? There are secrets still hidden. I see your daughter has a new easel in the sunroom. Does she like to draw faces? There are many in the woods. You have moved in. It is now your turn to care for the house. Let it know you respect it, or it will not be kind for you." At first, we thought it was a prank, some neighbour trying to scare off the new family. We called the police. The officer who came was polite, but didn't seem especially concerned. "Probably a neighbour who didn't want to see the house sold," he said. "You'd be surprised what people get territorial over." We handed the letter. They said they would keep an eye out, but there wasn't much they could do. The second letter came 2 days later. This time, it addressed us by name, Mr. and Mrs. Langford. "So nice to learn your names and your children's. Ella is such a beautiful name, James too. Did they pick the rooms at the top of the stairs? My favourite used to be the one with the bay window. I walk by often. I can see so much. Why have you not begun work inside yet? The house grows impatient. It doesn't like to be empty for long. You may find doors opening on their own. This is not the wind. This is the house reminding you it is awake." We hadn't posted anything publicly. We hadn't told anyone outside of our immediate family where the kids would be sleeping. The window they mentioned, it was in the upstairs bedroom, facing the street, the one my daughter had picked. And it wasn't visible from the sidewalk, not unless you stepped onto the lawn or got closer. We installed cameras, we set up motion lights, changed the locks, notified the neighbourhood association. Police launched a formal investigation. They even brought in a handwriting expert, but the letters kept coming, always unsigned, always escalating. Letter 3 arrived a week later. "You keep trying to protect them, but the house will take what it is owed. I have seen them playing in the yard. I hear the laughter. It is a kind sound. Do they know what's buried beneath the tree? Do you? Would you like me to show you? I will be patient, I always am, but not forever. That was when we decided not to move in. We hired security, filed restraining orders against no one in particular. The cops had suspects, a neighbour 2 doors down, a disgruntled former bidder, even the previous owners. Nothing stuck, and the letters, they kept coming. The last letter came just before we listed the house for sale. We had never spent a night inside, but someone had. We'd find footprints in the dust, the smell of cologne on the stairs, once a half-eaten apple left on the counter. We had the locks changed a 3rd time. No one was ever seen entering or leaving. And then came the final envelope. You ran, just like the others, but the house remembers. It will wait again. There will be another family, another child, and I'll be watching. We sold the house at a loss, disclosed everything to the buyers. They moved in anyway. We still check the news sometimes. No new letters, so far. But I have a copy of each one, and every time I open that folder, I swear the ink looks darker than before, almost like it's still fresh. I've worked in outdoor survival for almost a decade. Park ranger, wilderness rescue, private trail guide, you name it. I've seen bear attacks, hypothermia, lost hikers hallucinating on day 5 with no food or water. But nothing haunts me more than what happened with Evan. We were close friends, had met through the volunteer fire department years ago and started doing backcountry hikes together every fall. The kind where you're off trail, using topo maps and compasses, just the 2 of us and whatever gear we could carry. 3 years ago, we picked an isolated stretch in Montana's Bitterroot Range. The plan was a week-long hike ending at a tiny backcountry cabin we'd reserved for a Forest Service contact. The place wasn't on any official map, just an old ranger shelter barely standing. By the end of the trip, only I came out, and no one, not search teams, not dogs, not helicopters, ever found Evan again. The cabin at Dusk Creek was 14 miles off any marked trail, no road access. 1 room, no plumbing, no heat, just a bed, a fire pit, and a busted window half covered with nailed up plywood. We reached it on day 5 after a heavy rain and tough elevation. Evan was in good spirits. We'd spent the day cracking jokes, filtering muddy creek water, and arguing about the best freeze-dried meals. We built a fire and laid out our sleeping bags. Everything felt calm. We didn't hear anything strange, not that night. When I woke up the next morning, Evan was gone. His sleeping bag was half zipped, boots still by the fire pit, his pack untouched, knife still there where he left it. There was no note, at least, not at first. No sign of struggle, no blood, no prints, just gone. Like he stood up in the middle of the night and walked out barefoot into the woods. In the mud around the cabin, there were no prints at all, not even mine. I tore the cabin apart looking for clues. That's when I found the note, folded and tucked between 2 floorboards under Evan's bag, written in his handwriting, but not in his voice. Don't follow me. It wants me to come alone. Stay inside until dark, then leave. Don't look back. I couldn't explain it. There'd been no sign of distress, no sleepwalking history, no injury. But the note, it was dated 2 days ahead. I activated the GPS beacon and stayed until sundown. No sign of Evan, no sounds in the woods. But as night fell, I began to notice something off. The silence wasn't natural. No birds, no wind, no bugs, like the forest itself was holding its breath. I left at first light and met up with search crews 3 days later. They brought dogs. Nothing. Not a scent trail, no tracks, no clothing caught on brush. 2 weeks later, I went back with another ranger, Marlene. She didn't believe the note part, said maybe I imagined it from stress. That was until she saw the creek. The water by the cabin wasn't running anymore. It had reversed, flowing uphill. I'm not joking, it defied gravity. Not fast, but steadily, like tape played in reverse. We stared at it for 5 full minutes, then it suddenly stopped and flowed normally again. Marlene said nothing the entire hike back. She quit 3 months later. When I finally shared Evan's story on a private wilderness guide forum, I got 3 DMs within the hour, all anonymous, all describing almost the same thing. Different states, different years, same setup, remote cabin, no signs of struggle, no footprints, and a final note saying, "Don't follow me." 6 months after Evan disappeared, his parents sent me a manila envelope. Inside was a flash drive. They found it taped behind a drawer in his apartment. Only one video file, footage from his GoPro. It started normal, laughing, hiking, campfires. Then the last clip, nighttime. Evan breathing heavy, whispering, "It's outside. I can hear it walking. It sounds like my voice, but it's not saying the right things." He turned the camera to the window. Outside was a shape, tall, human. It moved like Evan, but it didn't blink. And it was wearing Evan's jacket, the one still folded in the cabin when I woke up. To this day, I don't go off grid alone. I don't camp near unmarked cabins, and I never ignore missing time, reverse water, or notes left in handwriting that feels too perfect. Because whatever happened at Dusk Creek, it's happened before, and it will happen again.